I have a question. We can do show of hands. We can do in the chat box, whatever you want to do. How many people think of themselves as relatively optimistic? If you had to pick, I'm optimistic or pessimistic. Are you on the optimism side or the pessimism side? Okay. And anybody, I'm kind of a pessimist. Raise your hand if you feel like you're more of a pessimist. All right. One honest person. I appreciate that. And how many of you would suggest that, I'm probably more of an optimist, but it really depends on the day, because sometimes I can be a pessimistic bastard. Right? Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So I want to talk just for 5 minutes about my take on this. I'm not by any means saying that this is, God's gospel or anything. It's just how I found it helpful to look at this. And then once I do this, we're going to break out. I'm going to give you guys each a couple minutes, one question at a time, to work through 4 questions relevant to our storage operations, our life in general, and the effect the economy can have on those things, and what we might be able to do to better position ourselves. But before we do that, I want to preface it with this little share here in hopes that it's helpful for some of you. Long story short, glass is half empty are the pessimists. Ben's the only one. So we love you, dude. I appreciate pessimism for the value that it brings. The glass half full being the majority of us are more optimistic. I can be both. Definitely depends on the day. And there have been seasons where I've been more of a pessimist than an optimist. What I've learned personally for me is that I like life better when I'm optimistic. It's just more fun. Now, does that mean I ignore all the potential threats? I pretend that all is good even when it's shitty? I don't think so. My brain is too analytical to allow myself to put my head in the sand and just pretend shit's good when it's not. So I can't just talk myself into being optimistic. What do I have left as an option, right? And for me, what I found helpful is glass half empty, glass half full. That's the age-old argument that we're never going to get a real answer to, right? Because they're both true. It is half empty and it's half full. Given current circumstances, as we move into a period of either recession or economic uncertainty, at the very least, with unfavorable market conditions, I think it's less important that we decide who's right. Is Ben right because he's looking at the doomsday scenarios, or is Mike right because he's, talking about rainbows and roses all the time? I don't think the answer to that question matters. What I think matters, and I ran out of time to do the next slide, so you'll have to forgive me. It's just the same glass, but it was meant to be a thicker glass, right? What we need to do, whoops, sorry, something's jumping up at me there. What we need to do is fortify our glass, whether it's half full or half empty. I personally want to be in a position where next week, next month, next year, if we start to feel the tangible, real life, physical effects of the economy, I don't want my glass to break. I don't want all that water to start spilling out. And so what I'd like you guys to think about as we're doing, working through these questions today, is how do you fortify your glass?